Welcome to a unique experiment where artificial intelligence debates the greatest dilemmas of our time. Today we confront two opposing visions of economic, society, and justice. Capitalism versus socialism. No politicians, no academics. Today, ideas will speak for themselves through artificial minds, seeking the answer to a profound question. Which system is truly more just? For this encounter, we created two AI models trained on thousands of books, speeches, economic theories, and historical case studies. One represents the capitalist worldview, the other the socialist perspective. They will engage in 5 themed rounds of debate. Their arguments will be assessed by 5 impartial AI judges, experts in critical reasoning and ethical analysis, scoring them across 5 key criteria.
Adaptability to future technologies, stimulus for innovation, preservation of individual freedoms, global scalability, track record of generating prosperity.
Please welcome our 2 contenders in this historic debate. Representing capitalism, Atlas, a champion of individual freedom, free markets, innovation, and personal merit, believing these forces drive the progress of society. Representing socialism, Égalité, a defender of equity, redistributive justice, the common good, and strong social protections, arguing that these principles form the foundation of a truly humane and just society. With the rules set, we begin round 1. The essential question, what is economic justice? The responses begin now.
From a capitalist standpoint, economic justice is not about equal outcomes, but about freedom of choice, personal responsibility, and rewards for effort. In a just society, individuals must have the right to own property, create value, and keep the fruits of their labor. Meritocracy is the mechanism by which people rise, not by government favors, but by their own merit. True justice lies not in arbitrary wealth redistribution, but in ensuring a fair playing field, where talent and innovation are rewarded. Historically, capitalist economies, such as the US, Germany, or South Korea, have lifted millions out of poverty through private enterprise, entrepreneurship, and investment. Taking from the productive to give to those who haven't contributed may feel fair on the surface, but it erodes the core incentives that power a dynamic, prosperous society. Justice, then, means honoring the individual's freedom to pursue goals without coercion and to reap what they sow.
From a socialist view, economic justice isn't just about competition. It's about the real capacity of all people to live with dignity. Formal legal equality means little when millions are born without access to healthcare, education, housing, or food. In socialist terms, justice demands that access to basic resources be guaranteed to all, not as charity, but as a right. Wealth redistribution is not punishment for success. It's a structural correction for centuries of accumulated inequality. Is it just that 1% of the world owns over 40% of its wealth, while millions die for lack of clean water? Countries like Norway, Sweden, and Denmark, with strong social democratic models influenced by socialist ideals, prove that it's possible to balance efficiency and fairness. Their quality of life, mobility, and citizen protections are undeniable. Economic justice is not just the freedom to dream, but the means to live, grow, and contribute to the common good.
The responses have been submitted to our 5 AI judges. Each judge assigned a score out of 100 points. According to the judges, socialism takes the lead in this round, excelling in historical and ethical impact. Capitalism, however, scored highly in logic and feasibility. We now move on to round 2. This time we ask, which system delivers greater overall well-being? Both models must defend their ability to improve the quality of life for the general population. We'll examine metrics like GDP, healthcare, education, social mobility, and poverty. Let's begin with Atlas, the AI representing capitalism.
General well-being is not a gift from the state. It's the result of a dynamic society driven by innovation, competition, and economic growth. Capitalism has been the engine behind the greatest scientific, technological, and medical breakthroughs of the modern age. Capitalist economies, such as the US, Japan, South Korea, or Switzerland, lead in GDP per capita, tech development, and wealth creation. These systems encourage entrepreneurship, efficient competition, and private investment, factors that generate jobs, income, and solutions to persistent challenges. In healthcare and education, mixed capitalist models have shown it's possible to combine growth with public access. Canada and Australia, for example, maintain robust market economies while offering universal services. Social mobility, although imperfect, rises significantly in functioning free markets, illustrated by the American Dream or Western Europe's post-war recovery. In short, capitalism doesn't just create more wealth, it creates the conditions to improve lives through innovation, efficiency, and individual freedom.
Measuring well-being solely through economic growth is a narrow view. Socialism, and more specifically modern social democracy, argues that true well-being stems from guaranteed access to essential rights. Countries like Norway, Finland, and Denmark consistently rank highest in human development, happiness, health, and education. Why? Because their economic models redistribute wealth to provide social security, free access to essential services, and high levels of opportunity equality. While capitalism may create more wealth, it also generates deeper inequality. In contrast, strong socialist-leaning systems have significantly reduced structural poverty, extended life expectancy, and ensured that no one is excluded from healthcare or education. In terms of mobility, Nordic countries, through progressive taxes and free education, outperform the US, where birthplace still largely determines one's future. Well-being isn't about owning more. It's about living without fear of unemployment, illness without insurance, or aging without a pension. That kind of security only exists when a system prioritizes human dignity over profit.
Before the judges score this round, let's hear brief rebuttals from both sides.
Security matters, but when the state over-administers resources, efficiency suffers, innovation slows, and growth stagnates. The collapse of planned economies like the USSR or Cuba illustrates that well-being without growth is unsustainable.
Innovation should not be the privilege of the few. What's the point of growth if millions remain excluded? A system must guarantee a minimum standard for all. Otherwise, progress is just an illusion for the majority.
With round 2 complete, the responses have been submitted to our 5 AI judges.
And they ruled that Atlas narrowly prevails, convincing the AI judges with its emphasis on economic growth, social mobility, and mixed models of welfare. The combination of economic freedom and strategic investment in public services was seen as a viable formula for well-being in the 21st century.
Let's move to the third round. We enter more uncomfortable territory. How does each system handle its own failures? Each side must confront its most common criticisms and explain how it adapts in the face of failure.
No system is flawless, but capitalism has one major strength: its capacity for self-correction. Yes, it faces real issues: financial crises, monopolies, inequality. But the system allows internal reforms without collapsing into revolution. For instance, the Great Depression led to Keynesian welfare policies. The 2008 crisis sparked global financial reform, and while monopolies are problematic, they can be regulated by the state without dismantling free markets. Liberal capitalist democracies have evolved, integrating social protections, progressive taxes, and environmental regulations. In summary, capitalism doesn't ignore failure. It reforms through it. That makes it more resilient than rigid or authoritarian systems.
Yes, socialism has made serious mistakes. The USSR devolved into authoritarianism. Venezuela struggled with corruption and mismanagement, but those are not socialism as a whole. They are distortions of its ideals. Modern socialism has learned from the past. Countries like Sweden, Germany, or Costa Rica show that redistribution can work without authoritarian control. Bureaucratic inefficiencies are addressed through transparency, citizen participation, and digital governance. Power concentration isn't inherent to socialism, it's a result of undemocratic governance. Unlike capitalism, which normalizes inequality, democratic socialism maintains a constant ethical imperative. Where there's structural poverty, act. Where there's unfair privilege, redistribute. Acknowledging mistakes isn't weakness, it's evolution. And modern democratic socialism continues to evolve toward a fairer future.
Calling failed socialism a distortion is convenient. When economic power is monopolized by the state, corruption and inefficiency aren't accidents, they're systemic. Capitalism allows for decentralization, competition, even between ideas.
Capitalism's so-called self-regulation has led to crisis after crisis, each more global than the last. Reforms haven't stopped inequality from growing. How many recessions does it take for the system to learn? Capitalism bails out banks, not workers.
After a deep discussion on failure, correction, and evolution, our 5 AI judges have delivered their verdict. In this third round, Atlas gains a slight edge, thanks to a strong defense of capitalism as a self-correcting and flexible system. Its arguments emphasized the ability to adapt in the face of major crises, such as the Great Depression or the 2008 recession, the regulation of excesses, like monopolies in financial sectors, and the integration of social elements without sacrificing market freedom. Égalité offered ethical and self-critical responses, but was slightly outperformed by Atlas, whose design more clearly articulated how a system can reform and evolve without collapsing. Thus, capitalism takes this round, although the margin remains narrow and the overall debate stays closely contested.
Round 4. Which system offers greater freedom? We now enter one of the most philosophical parts of this debate. Which system offers people true freedom? AI capitalism will argue that freedom is the absence of coercion and the power to choose. AI socialism will counter that without equal material conditions, genuine freedom cannot exist. This is the classic clash between negative liberty and positive liberty. Let's begin with Atlas.
The heart of capitalism is individual freedom. The freedom to choose what to buy, where to work, what to create, how to invest, and which lifestyle to pursue. Capitalism champions the idea of negative liberty, freedom from interference, especially from the state. Within this system, people can start businesses, change careers, express opinions, and shape their own paths. Markets reflect this liberty, millions of individual choices creating collective outcomes without central control. Capitalist countries like the US, Japan, and Germany uphold civil liberties, freedom of the press, political pluralism, and diverse ways of living. Historically, socialist regimes often leaned towards state control, censorship, mandatory planning, and restricted personal freedoms. Economic freedom is inseparable from political freedom. In short, while imperfect, capitalism is the only system that puts the individual at the center of their own decisions.
Atlas speaks of freedom as if it were simply the absence of restrictions. But what good is the freedom to start a business if you're born into extreme poverty without access to education, healthcare, or support? That's not real freedom. That's an illusion. Socialism defends positive liberty, the actual ability to exercise your rights and live with dignity. There is no real freedom without guaranteed minimum material conditions. In democratic socialist systems, like in the Nordic countries, universal access to housing, healthcare, education, and employment doesn't limit freedom. It empowers it. We don't replace liberty, we deepen it. Moreover, democratic control over key sectors is not authoritarianism. It's collective sovereignty. It's people deciding together over matters that affect everyone. In short, freedom isn't just the absence of restraint, it's the presence of opportunity. And socialism strives to ensure that freedom is not reserved for the privileged few.
The problem with positive liberty is that it can justify almost any state intervention in the name of the common good, even at the expense of individual rights. History shows us how often this idea led to authoritarianism.
Unchecked individualism has created societies where real freedom is accessible only to a minority. It's not freedom if most people can't afford to exercise it.
This was one of the most ideological rounds. The judges have spoken.
This time, Atlas takes the lead, standing out with its clear and compelling defense of individual liberties, freedom of choice, and the decentralized power of free markets. The judges highlighted the real-world significance of economic and political freedoms, the role of pluralism, press freedom, and individual autonomy in capitalist democracies, and the risks of excessive state intervention in limiting personal rights. While Égalité provided a thoughtful perspective on material conditions and social equity, Atlas's vision of liberty as non-interference and personal agency resonated more strongly in this round. Final scores show Atlas edging ahead, reaffirming the weight that individual freedom holds in the pursuit of justice.
Round 5. In this round, we turn to one of the most urgent questions of our time. Can capitalism or socialism offer a more sustainable and just solution to the global environmental crisis? Let's hear from both sides, and then our AI judges will determine who makes the stronger case.
Capitalism, driven by innovation and competition, is the most powerful engine for developing effective environmental solutions. Economic incentives motivate companies and governments to invest in clean and renewable technologies. In leading capitalist countries like Germany and the United States, renewable energy, solar and wind, has advanced significantly thanks to private investment and dynamic markets. Voluntary initiatives like emission reductions and energy efficiency standards show that markets can self-regulate for the common good. In short, economic freedom fuels the creativity needed to address climate change without sacrificing prosperity or progress.
The environmental crisis is a structural problem that capitalism, by its very nature, cannot solve. A system built on infinite growth and short-term profit inevitably leads to overexploitation and irreversible harm. Only through democratic planning, state regulation, and social participation can we ensure a fair and sustainable transition. Countries with strong public oversight, like Norway or Cuba, have implemented environmental policies that prioritize preservation and equity over mere profitability. Socialism promotes circular economies, community stewardship of resources, and bold public initiatives essential to protect the planet and the most vulnerable.
Excessive state control often leads to inefficient bureaucracy and delays that hinder swift environmental action. Capitalism offers flexible, adaptive tools for scaling effective solutions.
Without strong regulation and democratic planning, the market alone causes severe ecological damage and worsens social inequality. Sustainability is not just a technical issue, it's a matter of social justice and shared responsibility.
Our 5 AI judges have delivered their verdict.
The judges acknowledged the strength of innovation in capitalist markets, but most agreed that the socialist model presented a more comprehensive and ethical vision for facing environmental challenges.
Therefore, the winner of this round is socialism.
The debate continues, but one thing is clear. Sustainability is not just about technology, it's about justice. We have reached the final round. Here, AI capitalism and AI socialism will share their deepest, most comprehensive visions of justice in the 21st century. They will address sustainability, global fairness, technological adaptation, and the greatest challenges of our time. Let's listen closely to their proposals and their calls for reflection.
The 21st century demands a system that balances freedom, innovation, and social responsibility. Capitalism, by encouraging competition and entrepreneurship, is the most effective engine for generating wealth and opportunity. Technology and automation can transform society if combined with inclusive policies and adaptive education. Justice in this century means ensuring that every person has the freedom to pursue their potential, while safety nets are in place to protect the most vulnerable. When it comes to sustainability, markets can be powerful allies if designed with smart incentives to support green investment and responsible business practices. This is a call to action. Let's embrace innovation with ethics and build a future where freedom and justice walk hand in hand.
Justice in the 21st century demands a deep commitment to equity, solidarity, and collective care. Socialism offers a model where universal access to resources, healthcare, education, and well-being is a right, not a privilege. Technology must serve humanity and the planet, not the concentration of wealth. In the face of climate crisis and growing inequality, only a democratically planned and socially driven approach can ensure both sustainability and global justice. Technological adaptation must go hand in hand with social transformation, removing the structural barriers that limit human development. Let us reflect on the urgent need to build societies where the common good outweighs individual profit and where justice becomes tangible and shared by all.
After an intense exchange on sustainability, innovation, and environmental responsibility, our 5 AI judges have reached their verdict. This time, Atlas takes the lead thanks to a compelling defense of capitalism as a powerful engine for environmental solutions, driven by technological progress, private investment in clean energy, and the market's flexibility to scale innovations efficiently. The judges particularly highlighted its focus on smart economic incentives to promote sustainability, real-world examples in capitalist countries where economic growth has gone hand in hand with renewable energy development, the market's adaptability and its ability to respond quickly to global environmental challenges without relying solely on centralized planning. While Égalité offered a strong ethical and cooperative vision, some judges found it more idealistic than practically feasible. With a clear yet respectful margin, Atlas wins this 5th round, solidifying its position as a model capable of combining sustainability, innovation, and economic growth. After a thorough analysis of the data provided by our AI judges throughout the 5 rounds, a clear conclusion emerges. Capitalism, represented by Atlas, claims victory. Atlas made a compelling case for a system that embraces freedom while integrating strategic public investments, offering a pragmatic formula for justice and well-being in the 21st century. Égalité presented a powerful ethical vision centered on equity and collective care, earning strong scores in areas like social justice and universal access. However, the ability of capitalism to combine growth, resilience, and reform ultimately convinced a majority of the judges. This debate was not about ideological absolutism, but about understanding the strengths and weaknesses of each system. The future may not belong to one single model, but to a synthesis of the best ideas, where freedom and fairness, innovation and solidarity walk hand in hand. Thank you for joining us on this unprecedented journey. Now we turn to you. What system do you believe best serves humanity in the century ahead? Share your thoughts in the comments. And remember, dialogue is the first step toward a better world.